When I graduated college and then earned a master's degree, I was probably like a lot of you in this audience. I studied abroad, I was a teaching assistant for multiple professors, I worked hard in my classes, I volunteered hundreds of hours, and held part-time jobs off campus. But in the midst of the Great Recession, I moved to Washington, D.C., where it was a lot harder to get a job, even with a master's degree in political science, than I thought. I lost track of how many jobs I applied to, but I went on 14 job interviews, and I heard everything. You're overqualified, you're underqualified, you're just not the right fit. And many of these employers told me that they were speaking with more than 20 candidates for one position, a growing standard in our job market. Most of you know someone with a similar story, because my experience describes the story of thousands of millennials who are learning that the path to the American dream we thought was practically built into the traditional education system, get a bachelor's, get a master's, doesn't pan out the way we expected. And yet something really interesting is happening at the same time. In certain sectors, there are millions of jobs that go unfilled. One great example is for technical skills, jobs that require technical skills. We need 108 million workers in the coming years who have a high level of digital knowledge. But most of those jobs will just stay open. And there's a real cost to this digital skills gap. The Brookings Institution says that our inability to resolve the digital skills shortage is bleeding the US economy of at least $1 trillion per year. Most of us know or will soon know what job seeking and working in careers looks like after graduation. Nothing like any other generation. We'll change jobs, maybe even careers, multiple times. And gone are the days when we could hope for maybe working for a company for 30 years and collecting a pension and retiring at age 65. So we have to think differently about how we choose to work. But enough about the problems, right? Because there is a potential solution, and it's one that empowers the worker more than ever, with training, adaptability, and post-graduation options. Meet the freelance revolution. Freelancers are independent contractors who work part-time for multiple companies at the same time, rather than being salaried by one. And with today's technology rendering a lot of in-person jobs unnecessary or obsolete, these freelancers live and work anywhere on their own terms. Companies need workers with high levels of technical skill, but they also need workers with soft communication skills. Freelancing solves both problems. Freelancers have to pitch, negotiate contracts with clients, make revisions based on individual client needs, meet deadlines, and we're often brought in as part of teams with people we've never met before. All those things build soft communication skills. Here's my own story of joining the freelance revolution. Between graduation and working full-time for myself, like I do today, I used to spend 14-hour days teaching middle school in an inner-city classroom. Quickly approaching burnout, I inventoried every skill I ever thought I might have, and I asked good old Dr. Google how to become a freelance writer. I absorbed everything I could, podcasts, courses, books, and blogs, and I taught myself how to write website content and blogs for other people. Since I started with one client and one blog in 2012, I've learned everything from sales copywriting to search engine optimization strategy to project management, all skills I picked up on my own, on the job, or with some training that I invested my time and resources in. And most freelancers I know have a similar story. They started with something that inspired or interested them and picked up the skills they needed to learn along the way. Even though freelancing has been my full-time business since 2013, I had never heard of it in high school, college, or graduate school. The idea of working completely online, virtually unheard of when I got started. But the thing is that digital creatives today are turning freelancing on its head Because we have access to so much technology, we can educate ourselves and get started at the lowest cost that opening a business has ever been. There's a lot of myths about freelancing, that it's temporary workers, starving artists, someone who just can't get another job. But that's increasingly less true as we enter the age of the digital entrepreneur. Most freelancers today have extensive digital skills: copywriters, social media managers, virtual assistants, marketing experts, graphic and web designers, web developers, and a lot of them have jumped ship from traditional employment. They might have started freelancing as a side hustle or for reasons of financial necessity, but recent studies are showing that over 60% who stay full-time are doing so by choice. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that employers can't fill these jobs with technical skills otherwise. We've got to do a better job of preparing students for what the shifting sands of employment looks like after graduation. We're entering an economy that's like no other. We already have 56 million freelancers in the United States, and us freelancers are expected to represent a bigger portion of the workforce than traditional employees in the last 10 years. But so many people don't know about it. They don't know about this option to work almost completely online. A few years ago, I asked a college professor, "Can I come into your classroom and talk about some of the most in-demand remote work skills today?" His response, "No thanks. We're not training students for unstable options. We're training them for real careers after graduation." And unfortunately, that is how so many people view freelancing. But surveys of global executives show that the biggest challenge facing companies today is hiring workers with the right talent. And more than half of those executives have already turned to the digital freelance economy to fill that gap, largely because they have no other choice, but it also expands their geographic reach to get to work with the most talented and skilled freelancers out there, regardless of geographic location. So this means that employment has actually shifted and turned the tables to the power position of the freelancer, who has a plethora of clients to choose from and can decide who to work with, when, how, and from where. Not teaching students about these options and presenting entrepreneurship as a possible choice for them is not only depriving them of the critical skills they might need to get a full-time job after graduation, but it also cuts them short of learning these skills at the time when it's the lowest risk. Starting a freelance business requires so much less than a traditional brick-and-mortar business, and if you try it out and don't like it, you can exit just as easily. Freelancing in high school and college perfectly positions students to use the skills they've picked up as their unique foot in the door with a traditional employer, or as a side hustle that develops into a full-time business. And we're depriving students by not even giving them that option, because 1 in 5 full-time freelancers is making 6 figures. Traditional education is still extremely important in producing critical thinkers and creative problem solvers. But our generation cannot rely on the 4 walls classroom alone. For one thing, technology is changing so quickly that educators couldn't even hope to keep up with it and teach it in a meaningful way. The only way to stay ahead of that curve is to interact with this technology often and see coming adaptations and trends. And freelancers are always ahead of the curve because they are twice as likely to have invested in upgrading their own skills in the last 6 months when compared with traditional employees. Every time I'm looking to do something different in my business or launch a new avenue, I find the person who's 3 or 4 steps ahead of me. I learn everything I can from them, sometimes even hire them directly, and then I implement what I've picked up. I call it find the expert, follow the proven path. The same technology that is available to freelancers that allows them to work online is also available for us freelancers to learn how to do things better, more effectively, or even to pick up new skills. Today's freelancers can use their traditional education as a springboard for success while also building in these new skills and software awareness. I can't tell you how many times one of my clients has asked me, do I know a particular software, strategy, or tool? And if I don't, I have access to a world of resources at my fingertips to teach myself quickly. In order to adapt to this new digital economy and the rise of freelancing, we have to think about things a little bit differently. First, let's ditch the myth that every freelancer is a starving artist, struggling creative, temporary worker, or just working a couple of hours per week, because that's increasingly less true. The number of six-figure freelancers is only expected to grow in the coming years, a real testament to the demand for these high technical skills. Teachers play a crucial role in helping students go off the beaten path and pursue skills they're passionate about at a time when they can learn them quickly, easily, and then decide how to leverage them for full-time employment with these millions of open jobs, or as an individual entrepreneur. Colleges have to present students with trainings, internships, and speakers about digital media and online business models so that they can be competitive upon graduation and explore things that interest them. And existing corporations and those in human resources have to rethink what it means to work with the freelance or remote work lifestyle, both in terms of recruitment and ongoing management. The freelance revolution is gaining momentum as more workers seek the freedom, flexibility, and fulfillment of working for themselves, and as more companies turn to the freelance economy to solve their digital skills gap. The freelance revolution is here. Are you ready? Thank you.